It's difficult to place when exactly the first violin was made. It evolved from a variety of string and bow instruments starting as early as the 9th century. Most recent changes were made as late as the 19th century. Throughout its history, the violin has evolved into a beautiful, appreciated, and recognizable instrument. From classical concertos to hip-hop music and movie scores, violin has found its way into music of just about every genre, class, and culture. And yet most people know very little about it. This is my violin. There are several very important parts to it, and most of them are pretty easy to recognize and remember. We have the body, the neck, and the scroll, which looks like a scroll, and the peg box that the pegs go into, the strings. There are a few more very important parts that are a little more difficult to remember though, like the bridge, which holds the strings over, the tailpiece, the fine tuners, and the chin rest. And most chin rests you'll actually see on the side of a violin. Mine has one in the center, which is actually a characteristic that's a little more common for fiddle players. Of course, you wouldn't have a violin without a bow. Now, something that most people don't know about a bow that's very interesting and also very important is that the hairs on a bow are actually made from a horsetail. So there's a screw in the bottom of the bow that loosens and tightens the hairs. And if I loosen it all the way and I take it out, I can actually detach this piece at the bottom, and you'll see it looks a lot more like it could be a horsetail. Now, the reason that's so important is because it is the quality of the horsehair that leads to pulling out the sound from the strings. So horsehair actually has little tiny barbs on it. And when you put rosin, which is actually a type of tree sap, on the bow, like this, it makes the barbs sticky. And when the barbs are sticky, and you use it to pull on the strings, the barbs will grab the strings and make them vibrate. And that sound from the vibrating strings echoes through the body and then comes out through the holes on the side and produces the sound that you know. Now, of course, the other very important thing you may need to know about a violin is how to hold it correctly. Holding a violin incorrectly can lead to a lot of problems. I myself have actually pinched nerves in my back from holding my violin incorrectly, but a lot of people end up with tendinitis or arthritis from holding the violin incorrectly. So the first thing you would need is this, which is called a shoulder rest, which comes off and you attach it onto the back when you're going to play. And that, if you put it so that the curve sits right on your shoulder, you should be able to hold the violin without your arm at all, because it should just rest between your shoulder and your chin. Then you can take this hand and you make it open and put it under the fingerboard here so that it's nice and open. One of the most common ways that people hurt themselves playing violin is from putting their hand up like this. And that cuts off blood flow, causes tendinitis, and a lot of other problems. Now the bow is a little bit more tricky to hold. So you actually grab it just with your middle two fingers. You put your thumb under this little hole right here. Grab it there. The first finger just rests, but the pinky, which is the most tricky part, goes on top, curved and holding it like that. And this can take a lot of practice to get you to be able to hold the bow correctly without any problems. But once you know how to hold the bow correctly, hold the violin correctly, and you understand the parts of the violin and the sound it makes, you can start learning, or you can just understand how to appreciate violin music a little bit better.